It is my privilege today to talk a little bit about what's working. I've got people that have been doing this for a short time, long time, and they all have something to share that's working for them. And so today it's kind of more of a best practices. And I'm going to pick on people. So I anybody who views this go like, yeah, that's who he is. He picks on you. I'm going to pick on one person to start with, and nobody knows. This is like a random thing. But the first person I'm going to pick on is Don Guyman. And this is not Don's first rodeo. Um, the reason why I'm picking on Don is because his numbers are high, and he seems like his numbers are high, and also are his interviews. And there's something there to me. I want to know what that sauce is. So if anybody else does that, great. If not, you don't. I'm just hoping that will help. And I'm going to go through everybody who's learning something that they think. Don't assume anybody here knows everything. So, Don.
Yeah, so I think the thing, well, I do put a lot of resumes out. So I think you're going to get a lot of resumes. It's going to, a lot of resumes, hopefully will lead to a lot of interviews. Every job search, this is like the second or third time I've been through this. I think third or fourth, actually, I guess. Um, every job search is different. Having been through this 18 months ago, this is a lot different, I think, than even 18 months ago. I'll say what I've been doing with my resumes this time. I had a standard one that I had the company that laid me off. They gave me a job services and had someone do a resume for me, so, and I think it looks pretty good. Um, but what I've been doing is I've been using Chat GPT, and I also use Job Scan and run through both. Get keywords also. So um, and lately I've been using the job scan to give me a score as well as Chat GPT, and it's been really interesting to see what scores it gives you. Um, and what the that's led to quite a few interviews. I do try to lately. I do find that more I get more interviews for local companies. Um, I have put in resumes for like the national jobs, but I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I've seen a national job lead to an interview. It's so I've kind of wondered if that's worth my time. But for me, it's just using those two to using those tools, trying to specialize the resume as much as possible, and then get an interview. And once again, interviews have kind of been a mixed bag. Um, I think one of the things I have realized is that you're just supposed to get past the recruiter, no matter. I think, but every recruiter acts like they love you. In fact, I had last week at least one job that I knew I was overqualified for. I'll be honest, it was down in Utah County, so it wasn't necessarily one I was highly interested in, but I at least would talk and see what's going on. But then I got rejected. I saw the hiring manager looked at my LinkedIn account, and my LinkedIn account doesn't necessarily scream, entry level salesperson, but and I got rejected. This didn't necessarily shock me, but one thing I've been really trying to do with my interviews lately is try to speak to people's hearts. Um, so try to be a little bit more emotional, kind of go to that emotional angle. I will say this next time, I've kind of been a little bit more direct. There's a job that I went through three interviews, and I thought the third interview was going great until um, I had back. I maybe didn't have to admit that I had been laid off because the guy's asking me when I could start. I said, well, I'm not working right now, and I think that kind of put things on the back burner. But because they actually hired someone that looks like they just reposted the position again. Uh, but I'll be honest with you, I decided over the weekend the guy had posted the job on LinkedIn. I said, you know what? I sent him kind of a direct email, just saying, hey, I've applied. I want this job. I think this is why you didn't like me in the interview. What happened during the interview? Here's what happened when I got laid off. Back telling him, I said, the day before I got laid off, I got told what a great job I was doing. Uh, and so we'll see what happens. Another thing to do is keep following up because another job that I interviewed with that the guy had told me, hey, like just before like July 24th, they said, hey, we haven't made. I've got a few more interviews. I'm making my mind. I emailed the guy over the weekend. Kind of was going to use the same approach, and the guy was no longer with the company. This guy was a guy I thought would be a lifer. He'd been there for a long time, and so it gave me a new contact to reach out to. So those are the things I'm trying this time.
Okay, so tell us what site you're using.
I use the basic sites. I basically use LinkedIn. With this job search so far, LinkedIn and Indeed, uh, and then every morning I actually Google. Every morning I Google manager director jobs in Utah that were opened yesterday, and I think I get quite a few. But then there's always some that I don't find. But I think now with the jobs kind of drying up a little bit, it seems like on LinkedIn and Indeed, I'm gonna start expanding that to like the. I'm glad someone mentioned the Utah Jobs website today because I last year I used to get an email every day from them, and I can't this time I can't seem to get the email alerts set up the way I did. And when I get an email alert, it says it's like got 4,000 jobs. That's impossible to look for, but so I'll probably start expanding. So I'll be interested what other sites people are looking at that they found success. I'll be honest, I have a lot more success with getting interviews off Indeed than I do with LinkedIn.
Okay.
But
Great. Questions. Who has questions for Dawn?
I do have a question. More clarification. Do you um I can't think of the word, but do you customize your resumes for every job that you're applying for, or is it just the standard one that you attach to the application every time?
most of the time I specialize, but I kind of use Chat GPT and job scan. So I don't necessarily write the whole thing over again. But I generally customize my opening statement about the job and customize it to that job, the core competencies. And now I've started changing my career highlights. And I've been in leadership, and that's primarily what I'm looking for. And I have started adding because I like the way it sounded like a leadership statement on jobs that are leaders, but then naturally for just if it's a single contributor, I don't. So yeah, I do. I don't necessarily spend a ton of time, and I generally a lot of times and I do specialize a little bit because there's a little line I use on a lot of my resumes. I say the way to spell fun is WIN. And I've noticed I've had some that I start my resume off, and that's not from the Chat GPT. That's something I've always used. And I've noted that some of the interviews I've gotten, that line has gotten it. And this interview Thursday, when I started off kind of like my me in 30-second statement, the guy told me, "Oh, when I read that in your interview, that warm or on your resume that just warmed my heart." So, but I do try to specialize and keep mine. I have a TV I put in my room, and I have the time to just. I spend a lot of time on the job search right now. So
Okay.
Thank
Anybody,
you.
anybody else have something? Thanks, Angela.
I have something here. Um, Using AI when it goes to boosting your ATS score, sometimes AI suggests to mark down skill sets you don't have, just to boost your AI score to get an interview, which really don't like doing that. But are you for your cover letter? Are you specialize have a customized cover letter, or are you using AI to generate
I use AI for that, and I get that with the eye that lies. If AI puts something in that I haven't done, I take it out because I don't think that's honest. And that's why I don't let Chat GPT just write my resume because
well,
I remember like when I first started here, it was like turning my last job, which had nothing to do with software as a service. It was about turn into a software as a service job, and I realized I don't want to lie, so I take stuff. So if my core competencies, if it lists something that's in there that I don't have, and I can't even make an argument that I do have it, I take it out. I don't want
what
to.
I've
I don't want to
done
be caught in a lie.
what I've done with some of the ones, so I'm not lying. I'll go in there and put knowledge of skill set, and
Yeah,
put that in there so that if they look at it, they say, well, he has a knowledge of the skill set and he doesn't have it. But at least AI is or ATS is picking it up and it's hopefully getting me an interview.
And
So
you have to be really careful because there's one time I thought some definition was in a job description was something. I'm like, I can make an argument I have this, but then as I got an interview and we didn't ever discuss an interview, but I'm like, oh man, I don't really have this. So I was trying to, you have to be really careful because yeah, chat GPT and AI, whatever, they'll make things up. I don't want to necessarily, I
yeah,
don't want to be caught in that role. I
that's
do
why I put
change.
knowledge of skill set.
Yeah.
So I
So if,
cover my bases, so I'm not lying actually. So
yeah, I try to go as close as I can, but if I can't, if I look at it and I can't make an argument that I've done it, or I'll take that out just so I don't get caught in the lie.
one lie and you get disqualified. You know, they
Yep,
catch you on that. So do you customize every single cover letter with AI?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I read through it to make sure. And to be honest with you, the AI sounds like some. I think if you use AI enough, it begins to sound like you and your
Hmm.
writing style. Because I put in, I write something and put it in there so it makes it sound better. But yeah, I use AI.
I also, when I do my cover letters with AI, I specify to AI to uh, put in the cover letter why I feel that I'm about the great candidate for the position. And it'll come up and write a great couple paragraphs on it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I look through it to make sure. Because once again, I totally get it that it will make stuff up. it will
yes, it will.
it will make stuff up, and I've seen that before. So that's why I don't necessarily, when it comes to changing my job descriptions, although maybe I'll change a little bit sometimes. I don't really change those because then I'm those are exactly what I was doing. That way, I'm not stating I did something I didn't do.
Well, that's all I got, Steve. Thank you.
Um, anybody else have questions? I'm gonna randomly go to somebody else now. Anything else? Anybody have a question for Don? That obviously why did I pick Don? Anybody have a guest?
You told us in the beginning because he has applied to so many places and had so many interviews,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
And it's a numbers game, right? It's a numbers game, right? We're in sales. Oh, by the way, he is a sales guy, okay? But we're in sales. And if you don't know that you're in sales, go in the mirror and look at it. It's me, and I'm the best product. It's me. Point to yourself. It's me. Now, what's the hardest thing? Even Don will tell you this. It's a lot easier selling a product than yourself. It's a lot easier. But the product right now is you. And the question is, does everybody who needs you know that you're available? That's what we need to get to. Okay, next person up. Randomly, Rennie, what are you doing?
Staying persistent, just like everybody else, just staying persistent and not looking at things as a negative. Uh, for me, since I've been consistently getting interviews every single week, um, just looking at each interview as an opportunity to learn, if nothing else. Yes, it's a networking opportunity. You get your name out there, but it's an opportunity to learn something about yourself, no matter what that is. That's been good for me because, uh, for me, getting all these interviews, I'm just kind of like, oh, here comes another interview. We'll see what happens with it. But it's been good to kind of reflect on, what's been happening that was good, what was bad, uh, and just growing off of that, just adding another block of to your job jar or whatever to get better. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Questions. I have a question. So, are you practicing some of your interviews on some of these companies, maybe? Are you practicing on them?
I always practice. I've got a list of questions that I'll ask. Some of the companies have provided me previous questions that I've kept and kind of done that. So I'm always practicing in my head if I get some free time to do that. So practicing, I'll kind of rehearse it out loud occasionally, but for the most part, just doing that. That was something I picked up from my transition courses before I left the military. I've been through TAPS multiple times, and that's one thing that they teach you is to practice interviewing. I think I'm pretty good at it, but even then, some of the questions that I asked towards the end of my last interview was were very telling when he gave me feedback on that. So uh, never believing that you're perfect at it and that there's something new that you can pull out of each interview is a good thing.
Okay. And I think the more interviews we have, the more we're prepared for questions that might come up unexpectedly we weren't expecting. So, okay.
Yeah.
Who else has questions for Rennie?
How'd you practice for the what do you tools you use to practice for those interviews?
Say again.
Do you use any special tools to practice for interviews?
No, I just like I said, I had a lot of practice prior to leaving the military in interviewing, and then as a doing recruiting before I left my last opportunity, I had a chance to do that from the opposite end as well. So taking that experience from doing recruiting and HR stuff, and also my previous military experience in doing that, I kind of have a grasp on those things. So I'll just practice, just sit there and I sit in my office, I'll close my door, I'll run through a couple of questions and think about how I would do that. It kind of helps out a little bit, especially when I get those video recording interviews. That's another good opportunity to do that because especially if they give you multiple chances to do that, you can answer it multiple times and in different ways and see if you can do it faster and more smoothly. But for the most part, I just sit in my office and kind of contemplate how I would answer that question or how I would change the question up from what it was previously and how I answered it previously to something different that may be more applicable to whoever the employer is.
Don, have you ever recorded yourself?
Was that to me?
No, I was asking Don. Don, have you ever recorded yourself? One of the things you
I
can do
have
is just
I've used AI like put on Chat GPT and asked to list of my questions answers before, and it
yeah,
actually gave me some good insight
yeah.
on.
Or just using your phone too. One thing I've done is just, had some questions and then, literally watched myself speak. And how do you show up in a virtual interview? It's scary, honestly. But once you get over that, it's a great way to practice. It's a great way to see how you show up, to see what words you should use. Um, are you talking too fast? Are you talking too slow? Do you actually take some time? Do you think about, what's your cadence look like? What's your tempo look like? Things like that. So something that I've used as far as a tool.
100% agree with that. I was pretty fortunate that during my military time, I also taught, and there was a course a certification course that I had to go through to qualify as an instructor for those years. And those were a lot of the things. I'm not using that information right now because I'm doing a lot of verbal pauses with the ums and ahs. But to explain that is that it was very instrumental in what I'm doing now as far as looking for a job. So doing that, hearing yourself, having other people listen to you speak, and doing that helps out a lot.
So I'm hearing one thing on the preparation is, if I heard this right, that may use an AI to put the job description in and have it give you questions you should be able to answer. Maybe number one, and number two, I think, as I've always coached people is think of all those the perfect person must do all these bullets. Those should all be questions you should be able to answer or have an answer to them. So, okay. Any other questions for Rennie?
I got one. Um, what do you think your key or keys to your success on gaining interviews consistently every week?
I think my resume is, even though it's generalized, it's got a lot of those keywords those key buzzwords that a lot of companies like to key in on. So it's made it easy for them to pull me in. Plus, I've got a lot of education. I cut a lot of my education off my resume so I could keep it short, but I've got a lot of education. And because of the education and the certifications and all of that, you're like, ooh, it's kind of catchy, I think.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Randomly, the next person I pick. By the way, if you haven't figured out where I'm going with, I'm picking on people who might have been doing this a little bit longer or been in the trenches a little bit longer. And I've got new people. And the good thing is they both have a lot to share. Next person's Mike.
About the only thing that's working for me right now is kneecap to kneecap, eyeball to eyeball, voice to voice, personal selling. For me, part of the challenge, I think, is having risen to essentially near the top of my field. A lot of the things that people see on my resume, sometimes they go, I can't, I don't understand this. I can't believe it because I'm looking for somebody who does this and you're doing this. Um, so being able to talk with people, focusing on helping them as opposed to focusing on uh, trying to get a specific job, those are the things that seem to work. That's pretty much it. Oh, and the Notebook LM thing, man, that was a mood booster.
Okay. Who's all done that? Raise your hand. I want to see who's done that. Okay. For the rest of you, okay. Okay. For the people who did it, how much time did it take you to do it just to get it going?
10
Initially,
minutes.
15 minutes.
Okay. Mike?
I was going to say it took me about 30 seconds of doing, but it took me about 2 minutes of figuring out what to do.
Okay. All right. Travis?
And then there was, the 14 minutes of listening to this podcast thing all about, my journey, and I'm going, wow, that sounds really good.
Okay. Okay. Travis?
And
Angela?
my experience, of course, I was expositing last week, but yeah, giving it your resume is, it's just click, click. But adding that second source to kind of direct it. I mean, you can give it the source and it will just go over it and evaluate it and, tell it, it lets you tell that. But if you add a second source where you can add questions or provide context, it's a huge opportunity. I've used it, as I said last week, I've used it both for my professional and as my personal therapy while I'm in between my insurance providers. But there's a lot that can be done with it. So kudos to everybody that used it. If you haven't, just give it a shot. 2 thumbs up.
It's free too. Angela?
Yes.
Did you try Notebook LM?
Oh, yes, I totally did. I'm sorry. I'm applying for jobs while we're also talking. Um, I did. I really liked it. Like the other gentleman said, it was a huge mood booster, and I loved the fact that when I was a stay-at-home mom, I also worked part-time, but my jobs weren't consistent and they weren't like career related. Um, and they were just jobs. So what it did is it helped pull in the connection between the two types of jobs and what I did and what I'm interested in doing, and it kind of made it all like, oh, well, there's the connection that I myself couldn't see, but it took AI to help me see the connection between the creative arts aspect and pushing papers. So,
Okay, thank you, Angela. Did anybody else? I didn't know. I didn't. Did Rennie, Carl, Don, or Jamie, or Jason? Did you guys try Notebook LM?
I'm
Okay.
loading it now because everyone wants so I don't forget. But
Okay.
cool.
If there was a takeaway just for something to build your self-esteem, and by the way, I know all of you don't need that as a job seeker. I need it as a career coach. Okay. I should put something in there. I don't have a resume. I got to work on that. Maybe I should just throw my LinkedIn and see what it says, but my LinkedIn probably needs some help as well. Jason Green, I know you're not really looking for work. Throw your old resume in there. I think it would be a boost for you. You have a good old resume. So, all right. Anything else for Mike? Mike, thank you for hitting us with the Notebook LM. And I do have something. I want to know. I love words, but I need details sometimes. I want to know how to do it. And so eyeball to eyeball, knee to knee, toe to toe, whatever it is, you were saying, shoulder to shoulder. How are you doing that? I get that. That's connecting with people, but how?
Um, just whenever I talk with somebody, and the question always comes up here in our culture, what do you do? You know, in other parts of the world, they don't ask that question, but here in good old USA, that's kind of the how we get to know each other sort of thing. Um, and so, that's an opener right there. I try not to jump all over it and make it all about me. I just give them the little short bit, and I ask them what they're up to, and if they say anything at all that I might be able to assist with, then I try to say, how can I help you? Um, and just the willingness to engage in something that's, whatever challenges they're facing in their business, or that sort of thing. Just, is there some way that I can help you out? Um, when you start doing that, people feel good. Um, and very often what happens then is then they start thinking, okay, how can I help this guy? And so there becomes this exchange of gifts for gifts, if you want to think of it that way. And that in the past that has gotten me a lot of clients and a couple of jobs.
Okay. Thank you for going into more detail. Anybody else have questions for Mike? Next up is Roger Minnick. Roger, share what you're doing. What are your best practices that's working for you?
Using AI to create to re generate my resume and to get feedback um, for not only my resume but cover letters. Sometimes I'm putting resumes out there without cover letters. Sometimes I'm not. Um, Asking AI to specifically create cover letters to help gather the recruiters or hiring managers' attention, um, bring out key functions of my work history and my experience. I got a lot of experience in different areas of uh, system administration positions and the technical support positions I have held that you normally don't see on a Unix or Linux engineer environment. Does my trying to bring those out in my resume and in my cover letters, I believe that helps uh, get me at least some interviews. Um, when I go on an interview and I discuss some of my experiences, I kind of see that I'm gathering their attention on my history, and it's kind of giving them a wow factor. but it's also, I'm realizing that is a couple of my hiring managers have said this is more experience here than most of my people on my staff have. And I'm kind of wondering if that has actually taken me away from getting the job, you know. So I'm wondering if I should cut back on elaborating so much on my history.
So you brought up a point. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it overqualified. Would everybody agree that's what I think I'm hearing? Is that what you know what? The reality is, I think we're all bargain shoppers. I mean, Jamie, even in Spokane, Washington, went to Costco. Why do we go to Costco? We perceive it to be a better value, right? Or for if we're going to buy something. And by the way, you're a purchase. You're a purchase by a company. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that really hurts. I know, but that's what it is. They're looking for the best bang for their buck. Roger, you've got you basically you bring a lot to the table, but we have to be worried sometime and everybody else. I heard something from Rennie that said, I took some things off my resume just because I didn't want it to age me or to overqualify me, which overqualified, let's just play a game here. I'm going to go around and you have to come up with a different thing what overqualified means. I'm going to show you how many different things it means, okay? Carl Bird, your left-hand corner, what does overqualified mean to you? You just get to pick one and you can't do nobody can duplicate what other person did.
I would say too much education or training for the posted job description.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, too much education. Okay, we'll go to Roger Minnick. Next on there. What's overqualified mean to you? Can't use it what you can't use what Carl had.
Overqualified. Let's see. Stating stating information on your resume that doesn't qualify for the position that you're posting for.
Oh,
Now,
unnecessary information. Okay.
here's something that Janelle, and I don't know where she's been lately, if she got a job or what, but when she gave her put that on that recording out there that's she did, she said you shouldn't on your resume you should only go back 10 years. Well, I'm going back 30 years. And I thought about trimming that down as well, but then elaborating it in my skill sets, the skill sets that I have, and not going beyond the 10 years of job experience, kind of limiting that.
The current rule of thumb is 10 to 15 years. Most of us aren't going to go back to what we did 30 years ago. It doesn't pay what we want to be paid. It doesn't accommodate us for that. And so, and I mean, Roger has a very robust, and it would be fun to see which one, speaking of Notebook LM a few minutes ago, which one, which story it tells. But as I look at all the different things we have, from AI to Notebook LM, I guess is a form of AI. I can ask it, what should I keep? Now he has all these skills section, and that may be what's popping a lot of things for him. But could he minimize what he has and then start cutting years off? He can. He can, and he
That's
should.
what I thought about doing is taking only going back to 10, 15 years, okay, and eliminating everything from there, and then just putting my skill sets in the core principles of whatever it is, and leaving it at that, and
So
shortening my
Van Gogh,
resume
we all
more.
know who Van Gogh is, right? Bruce Lee, we all know who he is. They both claim to say this, but I think it may be a quote that Bruce Lee said, knowledge is not enough. We must apply, we must do. So, the thing is, the nice thing is all of us are experimenting to see what works in the job search. So, okay. So the subject still with Roger is overqualified. So Mike, we've heard that Carl said that probably too much training. Roger says maybe having too much information on your resume. Mike, what do you think overqualified means?
Old.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. Next up is Rennie. Rennie, what do you think overqualified means? You can't use those three.
Hmm. I'll say things that don't, well, no, that kind of was already said. I'd say non-pertinent, but it kind of goes along with what was said earlier about too much info.
Not pertinent, not pertinent. Okay, unnecessary. Okay, good. Okay, next up is Dawn. What's overqualified mean to you? You maybe you've heard that, Dawn.
I have actually a couple 3 week 4 weeks ago at an interview. Experience, too much experience.
Experience. Okay, good job. Angela, what does overqualified mean to you? Maybe she's not hearing that. She's young.
I don't know. I'm sure I'm hearing it because of the types of positions I'm applying for, just maybe not to my face. Um, he just took mine, but in a different way, too much experience based on what is requested in the job description.
Okay, all right, good job. Jamie, what's it mean to you?
I had experience as well. I kind of agree with Mike. I mean, old comes to mind, experienced, been around the block, I guess. Um, there's a lot of positives that come with that though, too.
Hey, we got to come up with another one, Jamie. I'm gonna call you on that one. You got to come up with another one because you used Mike. So I got
Yeah.
I got a couple still. I'm just waiting to see if they come up. Okay. But what other one? This would be easy for you, Jamie. What type of jobs are you applying for? Are you applying for two different roles?
Yeah, I'm applying for, individual contributor roles and then people manager roles, obviously, too, because I've done both. When you've got leadership experience and you're not applying for a leadership type role, is that seen as a positive or a negative? For a specific example.
Perfect. That's what I was looking for. I knew that would be coming up. So basically, I all my leadership stuff is what they're going to see first, yet I'm applying for an individual contributor role that I might be overqualified. Okay? Perfect. Okay, getting harder. We still have some in the tank here. I want you to know overqualified means so many different things. Travis, you're next.
Too expensive.
Perfect. I was looking for that one. Too expensive. Can't afford you. You're overqualified. Okay. Last up is Jason.
See what happens? I'm always the last, and all the good answers are already gone. And expensive was still there until the last second. I was going to say expensive.
Okay. Are you smart? I'll help you with this. Are you pretty smart?
No, no.
Are you knowledgeable? Are you pretty knowledgeable?
Overeducated. Have we said that? I think we've
Yeah,
said that.
well, maybe overeducated. I want to spin the overeducated by word. What's like spitting anyway, Overeducated. How about basically have
Easily bored.
maybe more experience than they need? That would be another one. Is that we did that one? More experience. So the point of this, why do we spend time on the word overqualified? Because frankly, it's going to come up. It's going to come up and it's going to be said that, so, I think you're overqualified. And I want you all to have a stupid attack. I know you're smart and I know this is really hard for you, but a stupid attack sounds like this. Oh, Mike, I've heard that word. What do you mean by overqualified? By the way, we're in sales, and those who are in sales would know this. It's called an objective, right? I just need to know what the objective is. I can't address it if I don't know what it is. My mind thinks I know for sure what it is because I'm smart, but I should ask, what does that really mean? I'm overqualified because here's your takeaway line, and I'll see if I can still it and prop it in here. Oh, um, okay, great. Thanks, Travis, for putting that in there. I don't know if this is the one, but this is a one-liner I got from a guy named Kerry White some 20 years ago when I first started here, and it was overqualified. Tell me what you mean by that, because all my experience makes me the most qualified for this role. So can you tell me what you mean by overqualified? By the way, should we manipulate the people we're interviewing with a little bit by telling them that we are the most qualified? I don't know who else you have in your candidate, but I check every box.
Well,
And
in reality, we only have maybe 30 minutes for them to meet us and tell us, and they're looking at our resume and they're like, well, we wanted to meet you, but if we don't tell them that we're the most qualified for the position, they're maybe not going to see that. They see a piece of paper, but not me as a person.
right,
If you don't promote yourself, no one else is going to.
And the hardest thing is, I realize all of us, well, not everybody here's a parent, but Angela's got littler kids, okay? Randy's got a little kid, junior high, I think. But the reality is we teach them values. And some of the values are don't brag. Oh, wait a sec. Steve Botter just told me I need to brag a little bit. I'm not saying to say an untruth because bragging usually is a far stretched out item, but how do we make sure how do we change that and flip that switch? I think the thing you're not looking at, I'm the most qualified candidate. The
Well,
question
this brings back something is if I only customize my resume for that job position, but then if they may be looking for other skill sets that I have that I'm not putting into my resume because I'm leaving it out. So is it better just to leave it in?
okay, so this might be another session, but all the quick version is I want them to see what I bring to the table that they need. If you want to write that down, it's what they're looking for. Is that what's speaking to them? I don't know who said it earlier, but they said it about, on their cover. I think maybe Dawn said on my opening statement. I want you to think, and if you've never been in court, it's okay. But if you've watched it on TV and watched that well-written statement of a attorney giving an opening statement to a jury. That's what this is about. This is that opening statement called a summary. What is it you bring to the table that they need? And if you're not doing that, it's easy for Rennie, who's looked at a lot of resumes, or anybody else who looked at a resume to go like, oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Next. It's speaking to the audience. Now, can I get in and see some other roles? Yeah. If I'm making a pivot change, which could be Angela or somebody else who's pivoting, I might do something I don't do very often, but it's an objective statement. It's an I statement about what I want to do next. And it tells the reader, so it's catching their attention. And then Roger, I might there's lots of different types of skills. What you have the most of, Roger, are technical skills, okay? But there's core competencies, there's areas of expertise, there's technical skills, because sometimes it can be so much for Roger, for you, for example. I think they'll stay. They're on my last page, that if they get to the last page, great. If not, it's being picked up by the ATS, okay? That will trigger them to ask conversations about those skills, even though you went back only 10 to 15 years and it's not there. And you may have said, I didn't put that on. Let me share that story with you. So I hope that helps answer that question for Roger or anybody else here. But I think if we don't have them at hello, we miss the opportunity.
When it goes back to the salary over too expensive, most applications you're applying for, they want a salary range. So go out to salary.com, go out to the Google and see what the salary range that company is applying for, and put your salary range in there to give them idea that you're not looking to get $1 million out of them.
And my suggestion, pick the midpoint for applying. Doesn't need to stay there. Doesn't need to stay there.
Exactly.
But if you put the highest number, going, well, their highest number is my lowest number, I think you could be, that there's no room to grow because you want the highest amount of number. I put that in there. And again, I have two people I have to deal with. Well, I have the two primary screeners are the ATS and the human factor, that their margins isn't as big as the actual offer could be when a hiring manager does that. Okay.
Well, what the recruiter from Pure Storage told me, I'll get it quick, is if you go too high, then that cuts you out of merit pay increases.
It could be. And, a previous person who worked for the same company you did looked at Pure Storage and he held out. You and I may have felt that it was a decent offer, but he held out and got a better offer. So that was good. I mean,
Yeah.
and what's right for each one of you is what's right for each one of you. It's not, we're not here to say what you should or shouldn't take. It's what I have one that may be speaking next week. I'll talk about him in a little bit, but because he's doing some things different, and I don't know if people can do what he's doing. but it might be worth it to hear from him. You maybe pick up something from Pat Nielsen. And the only person I think knows who Pat is Jason. He's an author. He's a technical writer, but we may hear from him next week. Roger, anything else you're doing that would be a best practices that you want to share?
Just what I said, and try to be to get to your emails and text messages as soon as you get them.
Yeah, stay on top.
Stay on top of everything.
Okay. Okay. Next on my screen, let's just see here.
Oh, one other thing. After an interview, and I learned this from you, follow up. If you don't hear someone at the end of the week, follow up, say, have a good weekend. Even when you get rejected, send them a thank you letter saying, hey, thank you for the opportunity, because that'll keep them in their mind if something else comes up.
Maybe it's a time to resell yourself to them. I look forward to the next step and moving forward. Matter of fact, if you take another second look at my resume and your job description, I check almost every box. Look forward to our next step. I mean, be positive about it. Okay. Next up, randomly, Jamie. Jamie, tell us some of your best practices you're doing.
I would say for me, it's interesting. It's the people connection piece of it for me. Mike mentioned it earlier, kneecap to kneecap, shoulder to shoulder, however you want to do it. I don't know. I'm starting to get frustrated with this filling out 50 applications and sending them into thin air and hoping somebody's going to get back to you. And I don't know. I probably filled out 50 or 60 and got 5 or 6 emails back saying rejections. So I'm like, all right, we got to figure out a different strategy here. We got to work the network. We got to work people. It's not what you know, it's who you know. That's kind of my best practice. So just trying to do that a little bit, and go through people to make connections.
Okay, so if you heard that, strategy. If what you're doing is not working, change. What's the definition of insanity for a job seeker, especially?
Yeah. I mean, I think doing the online applications and going through the ATS and that part of it, I mean, and that's necessary regardless. I think it's healthy. I think it's good. I think something will come of it. However, I don't know, the most impactful ones are people that may already know you, right? Because, people who know what you stand for and your work ethic, or people that you've worked with previously, they know what you can do. Tapping into that network, I think, makes a lot of sense. And then, the other thing, and I think Don kind of demonstrates this, you got to keep swinging the bat, right? More times you swing the bat, the better off you're going to be. I mean, 50 resumes a week is unbelievable, which is great, but he's also getting 7 or 8 resumes. So when I look at that, it's like, okay, keep swinging the bat. Just keep going. Like, don't get discouraged. Have your plan, stick to your plan, hold yourself accountable, and just keep going.
I love that. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's actually those who know all about you, know what you it's the skills and talent you have, but they have the connections, and they can introduce you or connect you or let you know what's going on in the marketplace. Job team, before it was in person, said something that Don said really early today before we even recorded this. He said, I'm not seeing as many jobs out there. I might have to change some things. And I remember that happening to a guy named Bruce Lyon. He worked for ATK, Royal Bank of Scotland, and ended up just retiring at BAE. And Bruce said, I'm not seeing a lot of jobs out there. He says, I guess I'm going to have to network. Oh my goodness. He should have never said that, because I took that and ran with that. And I said, networking, you don't have to network. It's a privilege. You get to. And if you're taking notes, you get to. I took back in the day, we had all those Mark and Wyckoff markers. Got a big whiteboard that I did job team on, and I took that marker and I wrote it on the glass right when you walked into my big office and it said, Don, networking is a privilege. You don't have to, you get to. You get to. So let's talk. I mean, I'm going to zone in on that light. I like that kneecap, but Jamie, tell us what you're doing, how the networking's working for you. Where are you finding the people? And I mean, you've got most of the interviews you got are coming from that.
Yeah, just kind of going back through, old people that you worked with or people that you had a connection with, maybe at 2 companies, 3 companies ago, whether it was your boss, your manager, a coworker, um, social media. I'm not a Facebook person. A lot of people are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. For me, it's really LinkedIn. That's where I'm spending the majority of my time, probably too much time. I need to get into JobScan a little bit more. I need to get into Washington State Unemployment Services a little bit more. I need to broaden the horizon as opposed to solely focusing on LinkedIn. And then text message and just cell phone, just your contact list within your phone and reaching out to people, checking in. Maybe it's somebody you haven't spoken to in a few years.
Anybody have any questions for Jamie? Maybe on this networking thing. How many of you might need some help on the networking thing?
And that's always good. It's always networking's sometimes hard simply because I don't want to be seen that I'm only reaching out to this person because I need a job. It's the same as when someone connects with me on LinkedIn, and as soon as I accept their LinkedIn connect request, they're trying to sell me something, and and so I always get worried that the only reason I'm connecting with somebody is because I'm sort of looking for a job, which I really am, but at this time, but admitting that, so that's
But isn't honestly the best policy? I'm feeling guilty.
yeah.
Rennie, the only reason I've really reached out to you is because I think you have a great network and I haven't touched base for you for a long time, blah, blah, blah. And wondered if you'd be willing to network with me. I'm in transition. Here's what I'm looking for. And if not, it's okay. I'm feeling guilty because last time we talked, it was the same thing. Whatever. But but is that okay to tell people that?
Yeah.
It is. It is. And you know what? And they could tell you, yeah, that's the only time you ever reach out to me, Steve. That's the only time you reach out to me. But it's okay. Last time I got $2,000 when I got you hired at our company. It was okay. You can do it again. Or you know what? Yeah, I feel pretty used. Okay. And what did Mike or somebody in this group says, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? That's that it's a reciprocal thing. There's a circle that goes around like this, and one circle is an arrow that goes halfway around, and it's called give, and the other one's called receive. Now, let me ask how many of you are good about receiving? Oh, one. Okay, a couple of you are. Most of us, we are really good about giving. That's a receive. By the way, for the cycle to continue and go like this, like we like it to, we got to do both. We got to do both. Any more questions for Jamie?
Steve, I want to pick up on something that you said a moment ago about networking being a privilege. Um, I got complacent. I used to do a lot of networking. I was always looking for, I was chapter president of the American Marketing Association, and I had great relationships with lots of people for most of my career. But I figured the job that I just left, I figured that was going to be my last one. And so I didn't bother doing any networking at that point. I just put my head down and, tried to get the work done. Boy, was that dumb. So, occasionally you guys might hear something smart come out of my mouth, but this one is proof that um, everybody is both is part genius and part stupid. And now you hear about my stupid part.
So, Mike, let me tag on that. You know what? I'll give a quote from a lot of my clients. What do you think about networking? Well, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to bother people. Anybody ever heard that one or thought of it themselves? I don't want to bother people. Anybody ever bought this thing? Probably came out in the 70s. Well, probably no, probably in the 80s, 90s. It was a sales technique. Probably Don heard it. Maybe, Jamie and Mike heard this. If it's to be, it's up to me, right? And I realize we're driving this boat of this job search, but this is not a time to not let other people be part of that with you if they want to. And the goal is, it's not like people think it is. Can we network so you can find me a job and get me hired? That's what people think. So we got to tell them, you know what? I want to know who you know that I should talk to. I think you could probably keep a tab on the network. Here's the type of companies. Here's the people I'm looking for, the type of roles I'm looking for. When they know that, then they can help you. They need a roadmap of where it is that they can take you to help you. But networking can be as simple as one a day. Okay. It could be two a day. It could be more than that. Again, I had a guy, his name was Matt Fouts. He worked for a company called Bort Longyear. He was a client of mine, and he was in job team. He lived in Bountiful, came all the way to Ogden to job team. Can you believe that people would drive that far to come to a weekly coaching session? And he decided that we should add the service to it. And part of his problem was he decided that he would make an announcement. And I know a lot of people aren't in this space. They probably wouldn't play in this space. I wouldn't. But he decided to post the job on Facebook that he was looking for work. And this was, I'll have to look, but it was probably about 10, 14 years ago that he did this. And he was shocked how many people came to his rescue with good leads. So many people, he had to make an announcement publicly on Facebook saying, I'm sorry, I'm not able to keep up all these. Please keep on sending them. But he was, he was thinking of maybe this job search is a couple hours a day. He said, I was working 60, 70 hours a week, just following up all the good leads. And they were good leads. They weren't a bunch of crap. So, we have to be careful how we unleash this. Sometimes if we're not ready to do that, and, I look at some of our numbers were a 10. I look at, I look at, I'm picking on him again today. Don's working a lot of hours. To do what you do, you got to put a lot of time and effort in to do that. But yeah. Um, so thanks, Mike, for saying about the more on that. And by the way, do people love to help other people most of the time? They do. Don't take that privilege away from them. And what if, okay, I like to spin stuff. What if the company they work out gives a decent referral bonus because of who you are, and they're looking to fill that job, and that would help that family out financially? Shame on you for hurting people by not telling other people you're looking for work. Okay. All right. Any more questions for Jamie on his networking? I'll recap what I heard from him. Go to the companies that you most recently worked for up to the last 10 years. Pick 5 or 10 people that, that you think liked you or that have influence. Reach out to them. Let me ask Jamie one question. How many of them weren't kind to you?
I'd say the vast majority of them, Steve. Without a doubt, I've got something back, but I had kind of invested and built that relationship over the years of working with them too, right? So maybe, somebody that's not, if the relationship wasn't great, I probably didn't reach out to them in the beginning. So that those numbers may be skewed a little bit. I don't want to say that I've been super not adventurous, but I've kind of reached out to people that I had a solid relationship with.
Okay. And surprisingly, some of the people we think didn't care for us, they're more likely to help us than the people who we thought were our best buddies. So thanks, Jamie. Anything else from Jamie? Okay, got three more people in a minute. Next up is Carl.
So what appears to be working best for me is networking. I've had 3, 4 different contacts with people that I have worked with previously. They have offered to forward my resume up the channel separately from a application. I let the HR department know that I've put it in and put in a good word for me. Obviously, always with the caveat, no guarantees, but I would like to work with you again. So I guess that also shows the importance of relationships prior to being laid off, right? At this point, there is one of those that is still active and moving slower than molasses, but it's still active. So the applications that I've put out, I don't know, dozen or more, specifically targeted. I've only had one response for. I had an interview with that one, just one interview, and then a thanks but no thanks, right? So
Okay. So, Carl, why don't you tell somebody what you're doing that you did before you got laid off with other laid off people? I think people need to hear that.
I'm not following you, Steve.
Okay, I'll play the attorney. Did you, Mr. Bird, did you did you actually reach out to people who got laid off and stay in contact with those people that got
So
laid
yeah,
off
I
before
did.
you got laid off?
Yeah, I did. As my coworkers were laid off, I reached out to them and offered um, recommendations. I offered a few contacts in other companies that weren't utilized because they all would require a move, and most of the people wanted to remain here, at least at that point in time when we were talking. But it did several things. That did it. Oh, there was also a Facebook group of former employees who were looking for work that's out there, and it's kind of sagged off now. I'm in the process of trying to revamp that since I'm now one of those employees. But I initially went in and asked if I could participate in that just to keep in touch and to provide some information, right? And I did that as well. I don't know if I ever told you that, Steve. So I'm having breakfast on Friday with one of my former coworkers who's in a similar position. We're going to trade stories, kind of like we do here, right? But that we aren't able to. We do that at once every 3 to 4 weeks. Also have lunch every 3 to 4 weeks with some current employees, and they're letting us know, old organization gossip, but also asking, just checking up on us. How are you doing? And they call it lunch with Randy and Carl. So and they set it up. So
Sweet. And it is it true also, Mr. Bird, that you have reached across state lines to help people in Florida? Is that true?
yes, it is.
Okay.
I
All right.
got that. Thank you.
And no, so I mean that networking does it. It plays out. Any questions for Carl on networking? Jace would call that the N word. All right. Next up, I've got 2 more people. I think I've got almost everybody. We're almost out of time. So Travis, what are you doing that you find as a best practice so far? And you're relatively new in the job search. What's working?
Well, I can tell you what's not working.
Okay. You know what? Okay, so let's stop right there.
Monster and Career Builder.
Not working is we need to know what doesn't work and we need to pass that on. I have opinion and I hope career builders hears me. I hope they call me. They
Well,
spam
here's the
they
thing.
spam
They were just acquired. They were acquired last year, and Monster and Career Builder were bought out by Bold. So anything from Career Builder or Monster, anything is outdated. Like all the jobs I go on, I search and I try to apply, and then it just dead ends. This is no longer here. So maybe they're behind the times. It's my understanding that the company Bold also acquired, I think is it Flex Jobs, which is more for remote jobs. Since that's part of my career search is just, one of my options is being remote. Yeah, Flex Jobs. So that's not working. It's good to be aware of, I mean, these job sites that we're using, just be aware of what's happening in the industry. Um, on the upside, and this is just linking into the networking, leaning into using LinkedIn as the same way that I would any other social networking site. I'm working on that. I'm I'm mid Gen X, so I got to see the world analog and digital, and I was part of the social upbringing. You know, once we get progressive generations that have grown up with the digital age, they're a bit better acquainted with it. But I'm doing my best to go beyond beyond the analog that I grew up with, and just leveraging. I just barely set up a I just barely set up my Instagram because my sister, who is, let's see, she's pushing, let's see, how old am I? 49. She's in her 60s. She is on Instagram all the time. And I feel kind of behind the curve because I never bothered. And maybe that was just me. But yes, definitely leveraging every asset available. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And all I have to say about that is ROI, what's working? If we find something's not working, let's quit doing that. Okay. Next up is Jason Green. Jason, I don't think you're looking for work. So I don't know if you have, I don't know if you have a horse in the game, but hey, you're here.
Well, that's one of the things I was going to say. I'm here. The Monday morning meeting is something that keeps me going. And I do get an email from Department of Workforce Services every day, and I look through that for openings that it's arranged by location. And so looking at openings that are nearby, I look through those pretty much every day. Um, Still haven't found that golden opportunity that I've been looking for, but I still look.
All right. We shouldn't underestimate the free sites, which is Department of Workforce Services or the state or the federal jobs. As I think Rennie and other HR professionals have shared, when they're in their ATS, they can determine where it goes and place it as many places as they want or choose not to place it. I'm sure there's a fee, either a user fee or a monthly fee to take people from any of those other sites. So yeah, so the free site is the Department of Workforce Services. And if you're not, like Jason said, if you're not getting what you refine what you want there. So recapping, I'm going to give you what I heard today, and then we'll wrap this up. But LinkedIn, Indeed, do a Google search. Do a Google search. Just put that in there and see what's in there, and just buy a job or whatever. Someone using Chat GPT and a AI and using Job Scan and changing their opening statement. Persistency. Learning from your interviews, learning from yourself. Notebook LM, what what you do, and just need networking, need a knee. What how I can't say it, but yeah, networking. Using AI, stay on top of things. I heard that today. People connection, strategy, networking. What's not working? You know, LinkedIn, Instagram, I don't know if that's for me. Facebook, I don't know if that's for me. But if I'm not getting where if I still think talking to people is the best thing. And like Mike said, it's not there to dominate the conversation. It's funny you should ask. I'm actually in transition. Would love to talk to you more about that. If I believe you probably know somebody I need to connect with. what are you up to? That kind of thing. Because you're right, Mike, you nailed that. It's my favorite statement. What are you doing? What are you doing now? And I think it's Angela's not here, but if she still was, I'd ask, do women have that? I think women are like, how are the kids? Oh, cute purse, nice shoes, whatever it is. I think they, I don't, I think guys, I think we zone in on what we do 8+ hours a day.
We define ourselves by our career, don't we?
We do, and probably we shouldn't define ourselves, but when someone asks us, if we are in the doing thing, well, I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm actually not working currently, and I'd love to network. If that's something you probably wouldn't think you could help me, but I could help you through that, you know. And if there's any failure, it's me, the job seeker, not you. Me trying to convey how you can best serve me. Let them off the hook, because I know we're afraid of failing people. I know we are, or we aren't, but the people who are trying to help us. So, all right, today we talked about what we would call is maybe just a best practice. What are people are doing that's working or not working? Okay, and we'll end this recording.